good morning to you on this Thursday, this Tuesday. No, I'm saying Thursday. This Tuesday on this week, and the weather is 60 degrees out there now. It's getting a little warmer. We are in a drought, so if you're inside the city, there's no burning at all. In the county, they lifted the burning. Okay, inside the city, no burning. Inside the county, if you're out in the unincorporated areas, then I think you can do some burning. But just be careful out there now, because it's extremely dry. And so we have back with us today our Board of Commissioner Chair, Kirk Deviere. A number of things we want to talk about. Man, this time is just flying by.
It does.
We're in the month of May. Congratulations to you. Fort Bragg honored you as an ambassador. Give me the special.
So it's an 18th Airborne Corps Airborne Ambassador. So it's just it's a way to recognize the work of an individual supporting the military families, DOD, and just Fort Bragg, and being an advocate for Fort Bragg. It was an honor to be recognized. It's a select company, people like Dan Dietrich and George Brees, who've done so much over the years for our military. So it was an honor to be part of that.
Excellent. Well, look, we salute you and hats off to you.
And I got a maroon jacket from it, so that's pretty cool. So
a green jacket?
A maroon jacket.
A maroon jacket.
Not that you could see it. So.
Yeah, it's true.
And I don't mean sight. I mean as in colorblind. I just wanted to point it out for the people listening. I don't think I'm taking a shot at you because you can't see or anything.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
And looking forward to going out there today. So Fort Bragg has a State of Bragg today. So, much like we do State of the County or State of the City. And so going out to that, and it's a little bit different format, so there's some discussion period to it as well, and looking forward to being a part of that today. And that just speaks to, one thing I will say, the relationship I've been able to build with Lieutenant General Anderson, the CG and post commander, as well as Chad Mixon, the garrison commander, Colonel Mixon, is they've really brought us into the process. They, if there's something that's impacting Fort Bragg, as a stakeholder in Fort Bragg, they bring us into those meetings. So I'm involved in and invited to a lot of, installation type, but also operational type stuff at Fort Bragg. Not just for ceremonial things, but part of the planning, that's what you want. We're so linked with Fort Bragg. And the county didn't have that for a long time, and I was very deliberate about that when I came on the board, and especially as a chairman, to make that connection, to make sure so many of their soldiers and families live in our community, live in the county, and then just the amount of veterans that we have here. We need to have that seamless connections. I mean, their kids go to our schools. They're living in our community and those types of things. So we want to make sure that we have a great connection there and a working relationship, not just a ceremonial relationship where I go out to a change of command. It's, we're in the meetings and we're having the hard conversations. One of the things that came out of those conversations early on is I was able to bring our school board chair, this has been last year, so the previous chair, out to General Anderson's office, and we had a conversation around military students and where they're attending schools and just family readiness and those types of things. And one of the things that led the school board to look at is how they allow military kids, that are on the installation, to pick which school they want to attend, if they want to attend. That came out of that conversation. That doesn't happen from going to a ceremony and just showing up and saying, hey, I'm here, and getting recognized as the chairman of the county commissioner. That happens from building a relationship with Greg Anderson, the man and the leader that he is, in connecting them and looking for solutions to issues that the commanding general brings forward to me as the chairman of the board.
Yeah, I think he's a 3-star, correct?
Correct.
Right, and I saw that. Also, there are 2 of our schools that are on federal property. That's W.T. Brown.
That's right.
As well as Bill Hefner Elementary over in the Montebello subdivision, and W.T. Brown is right there by Spring Lake, which schools out there, that's another conversation. So.
That's another one. Once they make their final decision, we'll begin to look at how we how we can fund their requests that they're bringing forward.
Yeah, and I think that decision is supposed to be made Tuesday.
So they've made a lot of decisions along the way. They've got some procedural things that I don't want to speak for that board, but
Sure.
they've got some procedural things that they're going through, and they'll make that final vote around one of the schools. But they've kind of already approved the plan. These are more of the procedural things you have to go through if you're closing a school, and so we'll see that, and then we're working to get our joint meeting established with them. We've put out some dates. We're waiting for their boards to approve those dates, and hopefully in May we can get together as the Board of Commissioners and the school board, just like we did last year, to have the conversations around their needs and what they're looking for, and better. Last year we talked about their maintenance plan and the study that had been done. They committed to doing this reorganization and repurposing that they just went through, and so we committed to funding those teacher supplements last year, and so being able to come back together and have that dialogue is, I think, what brought our boards together and resonated for this board to make the decisions to prioritize education and the education funding that we did last year, and so it's important not just to receive a budget and say, hey, here's what we need. It's to have that conversation on the front side so that all the members of the board on both parties understand, the needs, the wants, where we are, what can be done, what they did with the dollars last year, and just have a conversation around it. I think that's important, and both boards are committed to doing that. So we look forward to our joint meeting, hopefully later this month, if we can get it finalized and scheduled.
Yeah, no, there's still some discussion about what's going on in Spring Lake. I've talked to Mayor Anthony a couple of times, and probably on Thursday, to our listeners and viewers, going to probably have somebody in from the Spring Lake area to talk more about their perspective on what's going on. May 1st, there was no school, which was Friday. A number of individuals went to Raleigh, and I don't know whether it was a rally or a protest, but whatever, they were up there. And they're talking about funding education and teacher pay. Again, I think, as you and I stated the last time you were on, I think some people don't realize how much of the budget is already committed to education.
That's right.
That's K through university level, but
That's right.
still, more than 50%. And has the new budget been passed up there yet? It hasn't been.
No,
So
they have not. Well, it's not a new budget. It's
well, I know, but the budget we should be operating on
should
now.
have been, in the long session, they should have already approved a budget for a biennium, and they haven't done that yet. So.
Right.
But
But
hopefully they'll get to that in the short session. I think, now that the primaries are over and they can focus on it. I mean, you already saw them move forward with funding the Medicaid issue, addressing that Medicaid issue and the Medicaid funding issue. I think, what I'm hearing and seeing, just talking to folks, they're trying to work around the sticking points, and it's really between the House leadership and the Senate leadership, and hopefully once they resolve some of those things, we'll see a budget roll out that funds our education systems, both university, community college, and K through 12, but also fund the state employees. And the thing about North Carolina is you got a continuing resolution. So if they don't approve a budget, you're just spending the totals last year. But what that means for employees like state employees as well as teachers and educators, they're operating at the same level as last year. So no cost of living, none of those types of things. So it's important to get a budget in place, and this has happened before, and I'm hopeful they'll get there this year and get to a resolution in short session. Hopefully, our delegation will continue to advocate for some of the things we need here outside of the normal funding streams, and hopefully we'll see some project dollars come back to this community, and hopefully, they'll prioritize those project dollars to make an impact in our infrastructure, whether it's water and sewer, whether it's our schools, and help us offset some of the school construction costs that the county is the county's already committed to. That would be helpful. So I'm optimistic that we'll hopefully see some dollars come back, project dollars as I would call it, come back to Cumberland County outside of the normal budget.
Right, and for those that are in the numbers, we're talking about a budget that's over $30 billion. and more than half of that is dedicated to education. You know, I know you're not in Raleigh.
30 billion with a B.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. 30 billion, right? I know you're not in Raleigh anymore, but still, you know, I know you are familiar with the conversation with the, I'm gonna call it so-called education lottery. You know, the auditor, state auditor, has made some critical analysis of that money because of the way that money was supposed to be spent and how it comes down to communities and counties and school systems and how it should assist them. Yeah. I don't think that we've benefited from the way it said it was supposed to work.
Yeah. Yeah, and I appreciate the auditor. He and his team are definitely looking at a lot of stuff, to include stuff here locally, which we won't get into. I'll let somebody else get into that piece. But you got to be appreciative of the things that he's looking at. And the lottery is important. And, you know, I think there's some good takeaways from what he has recommended or his team has recommended. And hopefully, you know, the impact of that needs to be felt, especially, you know, in these low wealth communities. You know, for many years, Troy, the only dollars that were going to fund our school facilities here in this community were from the lottery dollars.
That was my question. That's my thought. That's what it's supposed to be working.
It is, but my point of it is yeah, could you have a different formula where you get more, or maybe more in low wealth communities, or, you know, looking at how those dollars are allocated, the percentages that you know, some of it is what you see in the lottery is so much of it is they're using so much of it on the marketing side to generate the additional dollars and other allocations of it, that the amount that actually gets down to facilities isn't at the percentage that a lot of people think it is or feel like it should be. My point is here in this community, while we were getting that lottery dollars, which we're thankful for, because we need those additional dollars for facilities maintenance and ongoing repairs, those were the only dollars that we were committing. You know, locally we weren't committing general fund dollars, or if we were, it was very small amounts, not the amounts that we are looking that this board did last year in over $300 million.
Right. So I know there's been questions, and, you know, there's a little push and pull between the Board of Commissioners and the school board prior to your time being there about how education dollars were being spent. And that led to, I think, some, my word, cantankerous relationships between the Board of Commissioners and the school board, and them getting the money that, them meaning the school board, getting the money that they felt like they deserved.
Yeah, and I think it's more of it's relationships. So as I talked about, you know, we put together this joint meeting last year where we had a conversation before they approved their budget, kind of laying out what they thought, their needs, very open about teacher supplements and what's not happening at the state level with the formula that is really skewed to hurt communities like us that have high teacher count and low wealth. And so it was good to have those conversations to build that relationship. But this board has been very clear, especially with kind of the change. I mean, you had 3 new members, and we were very focused on investment in our public schools, investments in our water and sewer infrastructure, investments in our public safety, and investments in our mental health, and kind of that health, whether it's homelessness or mental health or those health and human services kind of things. And that's where, I mean, that's the priority of our board. That's the focus of our board. That's what we should do. And so I think that shifted the narrative a little bit with the board, and, you know, a new chairman with the commission, a new school board chairman. We were able to work together. Like I said, I took her out to Fort Bragg, invited her to come with me out to Fort Bragg to have those conversations. I don't think that was historically done. We meet routinely, have conversations routinely with school board chair, vice chair, to make sure that, you know, we're in sync. Our staffs are, you know, are talking more than I believe they've previously done in the past, because we know we have to be a partner, especially when it comes to funding. Everything that we do is, all of their funding comes, or most of their funding, a bulk of their funding comes through us. And so we have to be connected, and we have to be supportive of it. Look, if we're losing teachers across the line, then is it our role to up those teacher supplements because the formula's wrong? I mean, some would argue no, but I would argue yes, because we want to retain those teachers here in Cumberland County, and not just going right across the line to Harnett or Hoke, where they could make, several more $1,000s a year. I mean, we're at the bottom in our region when it came to teacher supplements. Now, I would still argue, and they do it all the time, to the General Assembly, that formula's wrong. And in our legislative priorities, we tell them it's wrong, and we advocate, just like the school board does, for that same change to the law that they have for that formula. But, I think it boils down to just building that relationship and having that solid relationship, which is why I'm looking forward to this joint meeting and how we fund things. But it's a priority. If we don't have strong schools, Troy, we don't have a strong community. I mean, put Robert Van Giens over in this other chair and ask him the number one thing that businesses ask them when they're talking about coming to town. They're looking at our schools. And we have to invest in them. And if we're not going to get that funding somewhere else, then we have to do everything we possibly can to take care of ourselves. And that's a priority level, and that's a focus on what you're seeing. It's important that we invest in our public schools, and we invest in the educators and the school personnel that are there that work with our children every day.
Right. Okay, well, look, we're going to go to a break and come back. I would say that phone lines are open. The chair has always been receptive to you giving a call, 910-483-6111. If you want to ask a question or make a short comment, please do so. We're going to go to a break and come back, talk more about some OPM. That's other people's money, and how some folk don't have a problem with when they're spending OPM. But just my feeling about it is that you should treat OPM when you are an elected official like it's your money. But then again, that's a conversation. We'll be back for more following this.
Gas prices in North Carolina continue to rise over $4. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy is launching a new plan to get some Americans off antidepressants. Kennedy says while some meds do have a role in care, they will no longer be the default. A proposal that would stop North Carolina counties from implementing new real estate appraisals is expected to go before state lawmakers today in Raleigh. A new bill proposed by 3 state Senate Democrats would put 2 constitutional amendments about cannabis on the ballot this November. The Durham City Council on Monday approved a 60-day moratorium on data center plans, joining other counties and municipalities across the state pausing development. And Old Man Winter has one last dance for Colorado. It's been snowing there. Mike Rayleigh, NCN News.
I'm Jamie Monticelli, WIDU Radio News. Your input matters, and the city manager wants to hear directly from you. Check out the next Doug in the District. This is May 13th, 5:30 until 7:30 p.m. The conversations help shape decisions, strengthen connections, and ensure that the community grows in ways that reflect the needs and priorities of its residents. The Law Enforcement 5K Torch Run is coming up. This is May 7th at just before 9 a.m. The route is J.P. Riddle Stadium to the Fayetteville Police Department. It is to support Special Olympics North Carolina. Registration is $25. Limited shirts are available. Sign up, call 910-824-9241. Cumberland County Schools is committed to supporting military families with flexible school options. Beginning with the upcoming 2026-2027 school year, eligible students living on Fort Bragg may choose to enroll in any CCS comprehensive high school by completing the Fort Bragg High School election form. From WIDU Radio, I'm Jamie Monticelli.
Another cold front on the way brings the chance for showers and storms by Thursday. In the meantime, it stays fairly quiet. Mostly clear skies expected tonight. Temperatures cool down into the mid-50s. Should be a nice day Tuesday. Mostly sunny to partly cloudy and breezy. High temperatures in the low to mid-80s. It's mostly cloudy Wednesday. Some rain becomes possible by Wednesday night. It's breezy with highs in the low 80s. I'm meteorologist Amy Wilmoth in the NCN Weather Center.
If you have been injured in a motor vehicle collision, you should understand that the insurance company is not on your side. It is the adjuster's job to get by with paying you as little as possible. Call personal injury trial lawyer Brent Adams now for a free no-obligation consultation. Call now, 910-888-8888. Don't hesitate. Call 8. At Brent Adams & Associates, we make things right.
Hi, I'm Mitch Colvin, president of Colvin Funeral Home and Crematorium. For over 50 years, our family has provided professional services with dignity, compassion, and respect with families during a time of need. We realize funeral services are as unique as those we're honoring. We offer a variety of affordable, quality services tailored to meet each family's needs, specializing in burial and cremation services. Proudly servicing Cumberland, Robinson, Hope, Harnett, Bladen, and surrounding counties from 2 locations, 2010 Murchison Road, Fayetteville, 1904 Elizabethtown Road, Lumberton. For more information, visit our website, www.hmcolvin.com.
Angelic Flourish Creations, 442 Hillsborough Street, Fayetteville, is family owned and operated, proudly serving the Fayetteville area. Whatever the occasion, Angelic Flourish Creations can create a floral arrangement or gift for any occasion or holiday. Angelic Flourish Creations has prompt, friendly, and caring service. If you want to say you care, you can always say it with flowers from Angelic Flourish Creations, 442 Hillsborough Street, Fayetteville. Call 910-485-2205.
It's one of life's simplest comforts. Turning on the tap and knowing clean, safe water's there. A glass before bed, a warm shower in the morning, water to cook, clean, and care for loved ones. So often, it's something that can be taken for granted. But behind every drop is a commitment to quality, safety, and service. At Fayetteville PWC, providing award-winning water is more than a service. It is a responsibility and a point of pride. Delivering clean, reliable water remains a top priority for Fayetteville and surrounding communities every single day, because clean water supports healthy families, strengthens neighborhoods, and helps communities thrive today and for generations to come. Discover more about the difference quality water makes at faypwc.com. Fayetteville PWC, always there, always on, always built to serve.
Florence, South Carolina, get ready. The Tyrone Porter Legacy Showcase weekend is coming June 5th through June 7th, 2026. And this is one weekend you do not want to miss. Friday, June 5th, it's the Lift Every Voice Choir Competition. Calling all choirs and praise teams from Florence and the surrounding areas. This is your moment to take the stage, lift your voice, and represent your ministry. Registration is open now. Saturday, June 6th, the new and up-and-coming artist showcase. Solo artists and groups, come share your gift with the world. You never know who may be in the audience watching. And after the showcase, special guest artists will take the stage. Then, Sunday, June 7th, the grand finale concert featuring powerhouse gospel artists including Roy and Revelation, the Swanee Quintet, the Sensational Wells Brothers, Reverend Sean Brown and the Void, Miss Flossie Boyd Johnson and Favor, and many more. This weekend is about legacy, unity, and keeping the vision alive. Mark your calendars now, June 5th through June 7th in Florence, South Carolina. For registration and more information, stay connected and be in the building. The Tyrone Porter Legacy Showcase Weekend, where the legacy lives on.
And we're back now. Let me see. It's 37 minutes after the hour here, and so what we're going to be discussing, I was being a little sarcastic about the OPM, the other people's money. But Mr. Chairman, this is the issue. When folks are spending other people's money, it's different. It just, so when we talk about things, in particular, you guys are spending tax dollars. The tax dollars is not coming out of, I guess you could say it's your money too because you're a taxpayer, but still, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
People are concerned about that because here you have people that, they talk about various things and they want to throw shade at you guys' leadership, in particular about the parking lot downtown in front of the courthouse, because they keep bringing that up, this is some great travesty, whatever, blah, 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 da, da, da. Where are we when it comes to everything that's going on as a result of you guys pivoting in a different direction when it comes to what's going on at the Crown and what's going on in front of the courthouse off of Dick Street?
Yeah, two good questions. And this week, actually yesterday morning at our meeting, we approved our construction manager at risk, our last piece of our project team for the modernization renovation at the theater and the arena. That's a critical piece. And so now we've got our entire project team together. So you have your architect, which is a local architect. We have our owner's rep that kind of looks out for our interests. You've got our construction manager now. Of course, Oakview Group is at the table as well, and then our project team, and now we're moving that forward. I'm happy to say kind of the progress we've seen over the last few months has been at the pace that I would have liked to have seen last year. But we are where we are right now, but that pace is now moving at a good operational pace. So we'll get this pre-planning meeting happening to begin to look at the programming, look at kind of some of the costs based on the programming, and come bring some thoughts back and recommendations back to the board to give some direction back to that project team and back to our county manager who's currently leading that project team, and as this project continues to move forward. As for the Gillespie Street lot, which is where the Crown Event Center, and people keep referring to it as a performing arts center, and it was never a performing arts center. It was a Crown Event Center, flat floor, folding chairs. Where that is right now, and it's kind of interesting. Let me talk about the parking lot at first. So there were 200 spots ripped up
right,
without kind of a plan that didn't fully meet the capacity that we needed to support the public coming to the courthouse as well as all the people that work in the courthouse. We've put down, again, moving at a little bit slower pace operational pace than we wanted, but now we're at least getting there. We're putting down 100 temporary spots that should be in place this week. So kind of crush and run, putting stuff down there that we can use as a temporary parking space for employees. There'll probably be county employees that are there that will open up additional capacity in the back. Probably not the full capacity that we need, but it's taking some of that pressure off of the parking issue that's happening around the courthouse. That should be in place this week, but we wanted to make sure it was temporary because as we move forward and looking at opportunities for that lot, that we wanted to make sure we didn't do anything foundationally that we'd have to rip up again and everything else. So what we're putting down will be, whatever site comes in there, the site prep will, it can be part of what's already there. So that's important, and hopefully that'll be in place this week. And we're still addressing some of the issues that we inherited in some ways. But as far as what's happening on that site, it's interesting. So I heard this morning, and I heard last night, that the city moved forward to look at a feasibility study for a hotel and a convention space in downtown because the county had made the decision to look elsewhere and not invest in downtown. So I found that interesting, seeing how in November of last year, we have moved forward with a hospitality feasibility study to look at downtown, that location, as well as all of downtown, updating a previous feasibility study that was done to give us some ideas and concepts of what could be used there, as well as use it as a recruiting tool for opportunities that may potentially go at that Gillespie Street lot. That's coming back before us this month, and so I welcome the city to listen to that, be part of the project. Just found it interesting that they went that direction last night, knowing that we were getting ready to release this. So, again, I welcome the city to come listen to it, share, use our information. They're welcome to the information, that we'll have, and that we're going to come back to us this month, hopefully on May 18th. Or sometime this month. We're working to get that consultant back here. And part of it is also to, look at what could go there, or look at what else could go in different parts of downtown from a hospitality standpoint. So, that would include things like hotels and convention centers and all those types of things. So, again, found it interesting. I'll just leave it there. But I'd encourage the city. You don't have to go it alone. We're here. We didn't abandon you. We never said we abandoned downtown Fayetteville. What we talked about is a better use of taxpayers' dollars, a more feasible, and quite frankly, what the stakeholders had told us in the surveys that had been done over the years, that we build up a corridor, we build up a sports and entertainment complex around the Crown, we make these initial investments, we leverage the food and beverage tax and the occupancy tax that have been graciously by the legislature into this community, and we find a way to leverage that as well as other financing models or options to build up that corridor in and around the Crown and make that kind of entertainment and sports entertainment kind of place. And that's something that hadn't been done for many years. And we've got the foundation, but we weren't making investments out there. We weren't, keeping up at the pace of the maintenance of our Crown Coliseum. We weren't making the investments. We just kind of turned our eye away from it and didn't look at the economic opportunity and the economic engine that we have in that Crown. And I will say that OVG is Oakview Group and Seth Bernalt, the general manager out there, have been great partners and advocates for us. And over the last few years, they've been able to turn that operationally and make it a little bit more efficient. And they need those investments. If you're going to market a product and bring the type of entertainment that we need here and deserve here, you've got to have the right product to do it. And I think that was our point of, we've got a better asset to invest in out at the Crown Complex. And that's what you're seeing happen now. And I'm looking forward to that continued movement and pace that we're seeing. But sure, to downtown, I'd invite the city to gladly participate in that.
Yeah. And for those individuals that want to hammer the present leadership because they pivoted from what was initially thought to be happening there on Gillespie, O.F. Jones, Dick Street, that lot there. The assertion by any media source or individuals to say that this board is not listening to stakeholders, that can't be true. There was a vested interest in the people that were downtown because they thought that was going to benefit them. I was talking to this lady because the meeting you all had in June or whatever that was. Was that June of 2020?
June of last year.
June of last year, 2025. Okay. So
June 4th, to be specific.
You're right.
Won't forget that day. For many reasons.
Yeah, I see that. But I came to that meeting. And so this one business owner, which was a female, she said, "This is the first time I've ever been in one of these meetings." And I was curious. I said, "Oh, really?" She said, "Yes, because I'm hoping that they would do this so increase foot traffic for my business." And so she was there for financial reasons. Nothing wrong with that. But my thing is that's everybody, to say that somebody is ignoring a stakeholder. No, you are really saying that the people downtown there, that's what they wanted. Mm-hmm. But all of Cumberland County doesn't exist downtown Fayetteville. You got Spring Lake, you have all the way to Beaver Dam, which right. I drove out there the other day ago for doing some work for the law office, and I didn't have a cell signal at all. When you get out there, Turnbull Road, going way down there.
Know it well.
I'm serious. I did not have a cell signal. I stopped at a little fire station, and I was trying to find somebody. The guy started laughing and said, "Man, ain't no cell service out here." The fireman telling me that. But my point being is that Cumberland County is bigger than downtown.
That's right.
And so, we have to acknowledge that the concerns for the whole county have to be met when you represent the whole county, not just a segment of the community that want to benefit from something financially.
Yeah, and, it's interesting. So, Cool Spring District, who's, the city is kind of invested in with their MSD, Municipal Service District tax, as well as some other dollars for that. They've kind of been the, quarterback for downtown. And after that June 4th meeting, the then interim director interim CEO reached out to me and said, "Hey, I'd love to have a conversation with you."
Okay.
I said, "Of course." And so we met and we talked about, this wasn't us turning our back. But one of the things I challenged them and I said, what do you want downtown to be? When's the last time we did a master plan for downtown? If you want millions of dollars to come into downtown Fayetteville, where's the master plan for it? How do we know what we need down here? What do we need to have down here? How do you know? That's part of that master plan hasn't been updated for over 20 years.
We have to go back to the Marvin plan.
Well, it's after the Marvin plan, but I kind of challenge to say, like, you want the county to invest in, this program or that program. Well, I've got 11 other, municipalities that I've got to look at as well.
Correct.
And given that's our county seat, and we're
true.
there, and it's the heart of the community in some ways, at least of Fayetteville. But we have other. But my point of it is. Talk to me about investing in a master plan in the long-term vision and how we can be part of that. That makes sense to me. But when was the last time it was done? So I challenge leadership to say, look at those things. Begin just like we're master planning around the Crown Corridor. So look into that whole corridor, not just the Crown Complex. So we begin to look at these corridors and how do we master plan around that so we get a better idea of, just like we're doing with the infrastructure up the 95 corridor. We know we've got to put infrastructure up that 95 corridor. So we're beginning to, indirectly manage out, okay, what does that look like? There's different components to this. These are the key arteries. How do we build that out? You've got to build plans around those things. So who does downtown Fayetteville want to become? I haven't seen a master plan lately. That was my point to them is, I'm willing, we are not turning our back on, the county's not turned our back on downtown Fayetteville, even though some people continue to say that, but we need to use the county dollars there responsibly. It's like somebody asking me about the Dogwood Festival, Fayetteville Dogwood Festival, by the way, which I proudly support. I think it's a great organization. The new executive director is a spark plug, and she is out there making things happen, and it's great to see. But, and it's good to see that the Fayetteville City investing in those quality of life kind of things. But then to come to us, I've got Hope Mills festivals, I've got Wade festivals, I've got Godwin festivals, Falcon, Spring Lake. Are we going to invest in all those as well? And so, I think there's a right time for the county. Our focus in our foundational work as a county needs to continue to be public education, infrastructure in our community. If we don't invest in the infrastructure, because we haven't for years, we're not going to move out of a tier 1 community. We're not going to get the businesses. We're not going to get the populations to move here. We've got to invest in our public safety, and we've got to invest in our mental health and in our health services like homelessness and those types of issues. Those are the types of things that we're doing. And I appreciate the investments the city of Fayetteville has been doing in some of those areas, because the county had not made those investments. But as we begin to move in that direction, I'm hopeful that they'll collaborate with us and see that they don't have to make those investments there, because the county is now investing. They can invest their dollars in other locations or in other things.
Sure. We appreciate that. And to our listeners there and viewers, Chairman Deviere, he was requested that he come. I asked him to be on with us after his board meetings so he can tell us what's going on. And you can hear it directly from him. Now, that doesn't prohibit anybody else from the board from coming on. Matter of fact, if they want to come on, call me. You know that the door's here on welcome hinges. Yeah. And when it comes to the mayor, the same thing. He was last month he was on 2 or 3 times, but typically he's on at least once a month to articulate his points. Yeah, these are the legislative leaders to these boards, and we need to have an opportunity to hear them. That doesn't prevent other people from coming on. Now, the city, all of, I think, with the exception of one, and we're working that out, but all of them have their own show, so they can say what they want to say. I reach out to the Board of Education. I've not been real successful in getting their members to come. Matter of fact, I was talking to one yesterday, and I'm trying to talk them in to get them behind the mic and get them in front of you.
Spring Lake too.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. So it's we're not prohibiting anybody else from not being heard because we want you to know. So. Just understand that's how that works.
Yeah, and one of the things, Troy, when you talked to me about, having me come on, because I thought it was important, because we need to hear from the leadership, and leadership needs to be accountable. And this is a little bit, sometimes I take off my chairman's hat a little bit, and I try to be clear when I do that, because this is a little bit more informal type of a show where we're talking about some things that happened at the meeting, but then we're also talking about just some community pieces as well. But the other thing I told you from day one is, I'll take any phone call that if we have time and want to take, phone calls. I don't shy away from the hard questions, the good questions, the bad questions, whatever it may be. Just like every Monday or every first of the month meeting in our morning meetings, I have a chairman's chat where I talk to the press and I give them an update on what we're talking about, give them the facts, and allow them to ask any questions. It's not scripted. I don't have my PIO stand up there and pre-screen the questions. I take any questions that they want to ask, and some of them are, directly at me and are holding me accountable on some things that we have done as a board or I've done as a leader. And that's okay, because we need to be willing to do that. It's important as an elected official in this community or in anywhere. You should be accountable to the people that elected you. And, not everybody's going to like all the decisions that you individually make or you as a board make. But it's okay to have conversations around that. And we don't have to be, we can be disagreeable without being disrespectful. And,
sure.
That's a key point. I mean, you'll hear me and, whoever talk about something, and I may disagree with what they say, but I'm not going to be disrespectful to them, because everybody has a position, everybody has life positions, and what I know at the is that the elected officials in this community, and even a lot of the community leaders, these advocates that are coming on here being passionate about data centers or whatever it may be, we all want a better community for our children. We all want a better community for the people that live here at the heart of it. We may have different ways of getting there and different paths, but we all want that. And I think if people remember that versus getting so vicious at each other and disrespectful to each other, respect their positions, disagree, but find common ground that you can move forward, I think that's important. And that's what I strive to do. And I'll be honest with you, it's difficult sometimes. It's very difficult sometimes, especially when the arrows are coming at you from the front and back. But I think it's the responsible thing to do as leaders, and I think our community deserves that.
And from a journalistic standpoint, I believe that our job is to allow both sides of the situation to be heard.
That's right.
And for people to be able to make up their own minds. However, if you or anyone else is sitting in front of me and you're saying something that I believe that's not true,
That's right.
I'm gonna give you some rebuttal. I'm gonna call you out on it. I'm
That's
like,
right.
I can't do that. And I think that's part of the issue. There's some people just want to come, just want to say anything, and I'm just supposed to sit here like, okay, yeah, go ahead on, because you got to look. That's not freedom of speech.
That's right.
That's not, this whole thing. I think we're taking this freedom of speech thing way too much, too far. It's like we ought to be providing accurate information and let people make up their own minds about things. But let's not try to be deceptive for political reasons because we're either envious or of someone, or we want to stymie someone doing something that is a benefit to all of us. But I believe that if people have all the information, then they can make good decisions.
I agree, and I think it's important that, you know, hosts like yourself or others, you know, you do hold political elected officials accountable. I mean, that's important. If we say we're going to do something and we do something different, then why? What's the process? Or if something doesn't make sense, then, you know, hold us accountable. I mean, that's an important part of this process, and it's an important process. It's an important part of how a community grows and how a community gets better. The more engaged community that you have, the better you're going to be. Look at this dialogue around data centers. Look at this dialogue that we're having around our schools right now. That's what we need. We need that passionate, I care about my community, I care about my kids, I care about this aspect, I care about the financial health of a community, I care about the economic future. Let's have those hard conversations, because then you don't have a small group of people, stakeholders, dictating the future of what the community could be, or dictating an outcome. You're truly getting stakeholder engagement, which is what we all try to strive to do and want, more importantly. But it takes a community leaning in and getting involved. And that's what, you know, I think that's what you're seeing around the school conversation, this data center conversation. And I mean, look at what happened with the interbasin transfer. I mean, we had the community come out in droves to talk about fighting for keeping our water in the Cape Fear River and retaining the water that's coming there. I mean, that's what it's supposed to be about, Troy, and that's what we need to stay focused on, not the bickering and the fighting amongst ourselves. Focused on what we all want, and that's a better community.
Some people like that, I believe.
They do, because it's sensationalism and it, you know,
because everything's done R&D in black and white.
That's right.
And when I say black and white, I'm specifically talking racial stuff and R&D, Democrat, Republican. It's not.
But it's easy to go there. It's a default. Yeah. It's easy to try to, instead of having that hard conversation, it's easier just to have the argument. And I would encourage people at all levels to have those hard conversations, but respectful conversations.
Really. Our time is up. Appreciate our producer on today, Reverend Carl Brinkley. And we have enjoyed certainly our chairman being in. And again, phone lines are always open. When he's here, 910-483-6111. Give us a call.
That's you, DL.
We out of here.